The Colorado Buffaloes take a brutal loss to the Kansas Jayhawks, 37-21. The Buffs now move to 8-3 overall, 6-2 in the conference. There's still hope for us Buffs fans to get into the Big 12 championship, but obviously this one hurts a lot because we know the potential of this team, and for the way we came out, the way the game ended, this one definitely hurts, and it comes back to a lot of how last year's football was played. But let's definitely break it down. I mean, it happened earlier this morning, so I think Oscar and I still got a lot of thoughts to go over. And this is just like a quick recap of what happened. But welcome in everybody to Bus Banter, presented by Believe Network. My name is Dean Frank. I'm here with my co-host Oscar Gonzalez Moore. Win or lose, we are still here to cover this Bus football team. And I know it's been a lot of winning this year, so we aren't as used to tough loss like this year, at least. But Oscar, I guess first thoughts. I know you. I mean, we're back home right now watching it, so it's a little different atmosphere. But how's your game day, and just where's your mind at right now?
Yeah, my game day was fun. I honestly went to a bar that was full of CU Boulder alumni and some students back in the Bay Area, which was good vibes. Obviously, not the outcome we wanted, but yeah, I guess just getting into the game, it's frustrating because I feel like Colorado's defense has been one of the most improved in the country over the last couple of weeks, and they had no answer for Jalen Daniels or Devin Neal, and it was just frustrating, man. I feel like Robert Livingston was drawing up the right schemes, and we were just missing tackle after tackle, which we can get into. And yeah, I mean, you're just not going to win a game like that, As good as Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter are, there's not really an answer for any team in the nation for playing defense that abysmally.
Definitely. And the thing with this team this year is like there's been a bunch of games where we started out pretty slow. So I'd say like at least for the first half, I think we were both still pretty hopeful. I mean, we were just texting back and forth. But then halfway through the third, I realized that, they're 7 drives in right now, and they've scored on every single drive, whether it was a
Right.
touchdown or even a field goal. So I thought at some point maybe our defense would wake up and kind of keep us in this game like we've seen in the past, but it was tough, man. I mean, Devin Neal, 37 carries, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, bro really turned into like prime Derrick Henry. There was no stopping him, and there were definitely a bunch of mixed tackles on the same time. It just like he had a day. I mean, it's just one of those things you got to tip your cap to him, because we just could not stop him. And like our rush defense has been top tier. I mean, at least top tier in the Big 12 conference. I mean, that's a stat like that can't even be argued looking at numbers. So after this game, it definitely hurts. I think we should definitely look at some positives, look at what happened wrong, and kind of just break down what happened. I mean, they had a total of 520 yards. There's no winning recipe there. 520. That's brutal, man.
Yeah. And going back to what you were just saying about Colorado starting slow, I mean, this is not the first time we've seen it, During Texas Tech, we went down 13-0 fast. During Utah, Shador had the pick on the first play of the game, or first possession of the game, which was absurd. And that is, I'm hoping if there's any chance we still can make the Big 12 championship, which now we don't control our own destiny, but I'm hoping this is a wake-up call and we kick Oklahoma State's ass next week. Best case or worst case scenario, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just end it on a good beat. But man, just so frustrating, honestly. Like, one of the most, I think, just being in the position we were in, right after signing Julian Lewis, for me at least, was just so demoralizing. Seaton, like, towards the end of the game, like it almost felt like he finally became a freshman. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's been playing like Superman this entire season, and finally he gets into Arrowhead, and you can't blame the kid. Like, he's literally an 18-year-old, but like, it's just tough outcome for sure. I know there had been a lot of talking, especially between Kobe Bryant and Travis Hunter, and Travis put on a show, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, definitely a winnable game. It just we didn't want it enough, Kansas
Yeah.
came out, played like they wanted to win the Big 12 championship. And I said this in the podcast before. Kansas was mad that their season didn't go the way it wanted to, and they're taking down the rest of the Big 12 with them. First team with a losing record to beat three ranked teams in a row in college football history.
Yeah, no, this was a good team, and I think we knew it coming into as well. But I think looking at the spread, I mean, we talked about it too, and I know we were being a little cocky, but at the same time, I think we both kind of had a feeling. Um, the one stat that I want to look at, and just like the way we've been able to win these past couple games and be on this winning streak really just comes down to offensive possession time. And looking at this game, I mean, we got doubled up. They led the game with 40 minutes of possession while we had 20. And I remember last year, like, or even earlier in the season when we talked about, the kind of like the strategy that teams need to beat us as we kind of look still pretty inconsistent was run the ball, keep our offense off the field. And that's exactly what they did today, man. I mean, they kept their offense off the field. I know we like Shadur didn't even have a bad game. He just couldn't really get going. That was the thing. And our offense, like Travis as well, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the day. I mean, it just seemed like we couldn't get enough because we couldn't stop them on defense. I mean, they scored 37 on us. So it's tough there. And, another thing I want to say as I'm just looking back at my notes, and I want to get the excuses out of the way, but at the same time, there were some very questionable calls by the refs, man. I mean,
Yeah,
just going back to it, I remember our first drive, there was a
that
big,
was ridiculous.
yeah,
That was
that first
so,
drive, I don't know if or I'm sure you saw it, but there's a big holding call on Travis that they missed, which was super clear when they pulled back the replay. There was obviously we're going to talk about the main call, and then there was another time where like the ref literally blocked Travis out of the play. Like there's a slow motion video. He got blindsided tackled by the ref, which is in the backfield and missed the tackle. So that one hurts. But then the main one we're going to look at, obviously, which is probably going crazy over social media right now, is just the Shadur below the knees tackle. I mean, he literally got folded. I have no clue how he got up and didn't even miss a play because that man is tough. But I mean, like I feel like in any other game, this is maybe even an ejection. So for for to be no tackle, I know a lot of people in the comments were saying like the Arrowhead curse, like this is how the Chiefs win all the time. But there were definitely a couple questionable calls. But at the end of the game, kind of like you were just talking about, seeing we did just let up. I mean, penalties killed us. I'll look for that stat too. But last thing too is just they were 9 for 14 on third down. It was like they were running 3rd and 10 rushing plays, and we were just lost. We just could not. I don't want to point it on any specific player because I saw a bunch of people miss tackles. Even Cameron Silverman Craig, who's been crushing it all year for us, he led up that first tackle, which they scored on. So it was just, I don't know if it's cocky. I don't know if it was just the moment was too big, but we took this L on the chest, man. 31 to 37 to 21. I mean, still we're 8-3 in on the season, and it's just like this one just hurts because we had so much at stake, right? And I'm not saying we don't anymore, but it does hurt a lot because, like you mentioned, I mean, we had all the destiny, we had everything in our hands. It was all ours to lose, and we came out and we lost it today.
yeah. I mean, I don't think I could have said it any better. You're right. The season is still a success. It just stings that much more because it felt like everything was lining up, and we just lost it. It just went right through our hands, especially like I don't know if you're watching the BYU game at all, but like they were driving down the field, get picks. You know what I mean? Like there goes that. Like we just need like a couple things next week to go our favor. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough, and the defense has really just got to play better because, like you were saying, Shador didn't play bad at all. He went in the first half 12 of 13, including that brutal hit, 157 passing yards, 23 rushing yards, which led the team, 2 tuds, and a 244.5 rating, which is like nearly flawless. You can't ask for much more. And Travis, same thing. I think the big thing for us was like really we did what we wanted to do schematically. Jalen Daniels, I didn't see him throw the ball deep that much, and when he did, like
189,
Travis almost got his hands on it. Which
double time.
yeah, which is what we were talking about, like Jalen Daniels being this deep threat quarterback. Instead, he was just making guys miss. And even though Shador like played a good game, it would be tough to say that he was the better quarterback in this game,
Sure.
especially just considering. And I know time of possession plays a huge part of it, but Jalen Daniels was electric today. I hate to say it, you know what I mean? But like the spin move he has is borderline Lamar-esque of what we saw of him in Louisville. I mean, it was just like making guys miss. And Devin Neal, like you said, on the Shark, he's just a bigger body. He's like 220 pounds. I'm assuming the Sharks, Cameron St. Craig is around like 180, and that's just force on force. He had him stopped a couple times, and he just took a face load of Devin Neal. And that's just what happens. I don't know, man. It is really disappointing. But I really hope this is a reality check, and I'm hoping that this isn't our season doesn't end next weekend against Oklahoma State, and somehow we'll be able to bounce back from this and make it to the Big 12 championship. Because oh my god, man, I literally had my fingers on the flight
Yeah.
to Dallas. You know what I mean? It's just so frustrating. I was worried about like, oh, am I going to get a ticket or not to the game, like a student ticket? Like now it's like, are we going to even make it, dude? I don't know. And like for me and you too, dude, it's not even like Buffs football. It's like we've been covering this team for 2.5 years now, and it's like it's a neck. It's a
For
neck.
real.
It's
And
hard
I
to
think,
explain. It's hard to put into words, especially like less than an hour, like an hour around after the loss. Just still processing all the emotions, but it is
I
what it
think
is,
that's
I guess.
it's the thing too with Coach Prime, just like listening to his press conferences. I mean, us just covering this team this past year, I'm sure it's so much more frustrating as a coach because it's like the potential this team has, and we just weren't able to show it. We just
Yeah.
never really had a chance. I mean, early on, we what that first quarter we were down 10-0, and it's just like, okay, it's a waste of a quarter. Came back a little bit, 14-13 in the second. So it was feasible to come. We were down 9, I believe, going into the second half, and we just our offense never really got going. I think it was really just a tale of a better pass offense against a better run offense, and I mean they had possession for 40 minutes, so we just never really gave ourselves a chance. I don't think you can put it on anyone specifically. I think we missed a bunch of tackles. I think we doubled up our missed tackles in the first half that we were averaging all season. So there's nothing we could do there. I mean, again, you tip your cap to Devin Neal, and I guess we move on to next week. I know we wanted to talk a little bit about it, so I'll pull up. Shout out to the boy Austin Swaim. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but I know all Bus fans are kind of scrambling right now. What the heck is going to happen next week? We're still 8-3, 6-2 in the conference. We're still at the top, right? BYU lost again to ASU, which I mean, we talked about them being frauds and being on fraud watch, but we were rooting for them because that would have helped our chances to stay at the top. But additionally, I believe Iowa State is playing Utah right now. I think they're down a touchdown. We'll keep y'all updated with that. Actually, they just scored. Okay, they're up 14-13, about to be halftime. So keep an eye on that. I mean, I know the game will probably be over when the pod's out, but let's just say Iowa State wins. There is a four-way tie in first place in the Big 12. And man, it is going to be a mess because we are 1 week left into the season and really anything can happen. So for Colorado to get into the Big 12 championship, we need to beat Oklahoma State, and then we need one of these things to happen. We need either BYU to lose to Houston, which I don't really like that chances just because Houston has had a down year and BYU should just be mad they lost two games in a row. You never know. Or we need U of A, Arizona, the Wildcats to beat Arizona State, which I feel like that is a little more likely. But the way that ASU is playing right now, I mean, now they're probably, if not Kansas, they're the hottest team in the Big 12. So, not favorable matchups, but at the end of the day, anything can happen. And that's why football is so fun and just you got to buckle up. And, it really came down to the final game of the season. It's going to be a home game. Tough that we're not going to be there, man. I wish we were, but obviously it's just not feasible. But we're going to have to preview that game and just like do the most research we ever have done because it's now or never. And I'd assume Coach Prime, Robert Livingston, Shermer, like they got to cook up something new because it just did not work out today. It really did not. Even, I mean, I'm not saying if we were able to run the ball, that would have done anything differently, but the screens just weren't really working, let alone or set aside that the one Travis Hunter touchdown. But we were spamming the screens like we usually do, and they were just there. And then we did not have a run game. We really didn't take too many shots on offense just because we didn't have the ball. And like I said, I mean, they literally drove and scored every single drive. They did not punt the ball once. So we're going to have to switch it up. I mean, I know people are going to be saying, oh, they were 4-6, 5-6 now. But like Oscar said in multiple clips that we are spamming all week was like, this Kansas team was the real deal. I know they weren't ranked, but they were supposed to be going into the season. So I really hope it wasn't, we were taking like kind of like we did last year, just being too cocky and just taking in the moment, obviously being in the center of attention in the media. But I think the moment was too big. And, this is football. This happens. I think we're just so used to this success of a season being 8-2. We're 8-3 now. Like, you know what? This is still an awesome season, but that's just what competitors do. And it does hurt because it's so recent, but we're still going to be in a bowl game. Um, there's still a lot to look forward to. So, along with Julian Lewis, of course, but this one hurts, man. And I'm just wondering, like, what do you think Coach Prime is telling the guys? How do you think we bounce back next week while we wrap it up?
Yeah, it's tough because you're going into Thanksgiving too, right? And I'm sure a lot of these young men have their family coming into town for like moral support, which is I'm not sure what they need right now. Maybe that is what they need, but like at the same time, like I kind of feel like this team just got their ass kicked. Like we need like a reality check, not like a like hug from mom, you know? That being said, I don't think Oklahoma State should be a hard team to beat, but who knows? And honestly, like I think my biggest takeaway from the game today is just like we need an RB1. Um, the offensive line I know had its issues today, but like really there hasn't been a guy for our running back room. You
Only
know,
one
like
sack, though, bro. Only one sack, and it's like I know. I mean, we had 8 penalties, 65 yards, definitely a bunch of pressures. I mean, Shadur was holding the ball for like longer than usual today, but only one sack. So it's like we can't
definitely.
put too much on the O line. But yeah, I mean, we did not have a run game, so I guess they're not helping too much in their run game if that's where you want to put the
I
blame
yeah,
on.
I just feel like there hasn't been a breakout guy, and that's every single time, every one of our three losses, that's been part of the recipe. A big part of it is time of possession. It's like, how are we going to control the time of possession if we can't run the ball?
Yeah,
That's where it comes. Like you were texting me, like they can't stop the pass, but we can't stop the run. And in all honesty, like I would much rather not be able to stop the pass than the run
right.
because
But we didn't
we
have the
can
shot.
control time of possession. And I think like eventually something's gonna crack. You know what I mean? Like Colorado had 3 straight scores and that was great, but like you kind of had I don't know about yourself, but I kind of had the feeling that like if we couldn't stop Devin Neal, there was no way we were going to win this game, no matter if they kept kicking field goals and
Yeah,
Shador kept going down and doing Shador things. But
yeah,
like, and I know Welch, super promising freshman. But at the same time, it's like, man, I hope through the transfer portal we get a dog because I feel like we are missing someone with elusiveness. Like we have guys that run hard, we have guys that play hard, but at the same time, we don't really have an X factor in the running back room, or at least that's what I've taken away from the 3 losses this season.
sure. No, you hit it on the point. I think that's maybe the one success we'll take away from this week. Obviously, we obviously the tough loss, but man, we just got the number 2 recruit in the nation, Julian Lewis. So I hope
Yeah.
along with that, I know we have a couple weeks until like signing day's over. So I'm assuming him coming is definitely going to switch a lot of new O-line guys, maybe even a star running back. So we'll look into a little more the recruiting side of things. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to. As for next, we'll head into Oklahoma State. I mean, it sucks, bro. It's like we're still 8-3, such a big season, and it's just annoying that like now I got to watch this game, and like my boys from home are texting me like, "Oh, Boulder sucks. You're like y'all are frauds." It's like, oh my god, we've had such a good season, but
Yeah, well, I know you got a couple boys from IU too that you were
yeah,
probably giving some
yeah,
crap to. But like I went to the bar with my friend from India and I was like,
yeah,
bro, you guys are on fraud watch. It's like
yeah.
we'll see. And it's like, oh man, did he have a field day with me after this. But
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we're ranked now. It's all just going to come down to this last week. So for y'all Bus fans out there, make sure to tune in later this week, probably Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. We'll get this preview out for Oklahoma State. There's still some hope. So the
yeah,
season
stay
is
hopeful,
not
Buff
over.
fans.
Yeah, don't even like. Obviously, this is a tough loss, but we've been in much worse situations as fans, and I like our chances anytime we're underdogs. So let's keep moving forward. This is football. It's going to happen. It's not about how you lose. It's about how you bounce back. So hopefully the boys can fire up some momentum going forward, and we'll do the same. Yeah, I guess final words is just go Buffs. Win or lose, we're still here to cover this team, and it's been a great season. So one week left, and then I guess we'll talk about what's going forward after that.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it. Not much else to say. Let's reset. Let's reset the clock next week. And like Dean said, we'll be here all week, all year to cover this team in this school. So, let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.